Okay. Okay, we're rolling. Now to share this around the internet so people know what's happening.
The internet.
Everyone.
Do we have to? Do we have to tell people about this?
I already told them like ages ago.
Awesome. Yeah, so they should already know. If they're not already here, they're not your friends.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
Oh.
There's a 3-second delay. They can't be my friends in the future. Okay. Live now. Cool. Okay. There's no one watching, so perfect. Hello, everybody who isn't here yet and is listening in the future. Welcome to the first ever Ray Gun Readers Nippon mashup.
You want to say that again?
Shut up. Mashup post review show. Oh, AJ's here. I lied.
Hi, Nippon.
Hello, Papreeka and Aboopadoop.
Hi.
To anyone who does not know what is going on right now, we all recently collaborated on a wonderful video over on Cinema Nippon about the crazy cyberpunk Japanese film Death Powder. And it was amazing and crazy. And we wanted to have a secondary live stream after the fact to kind of just talk about the movie and all the stuff that we couldn't fit into the already very long script that we made. That we just, how long do you think that video would have been if we wanted to talk about everything? An hour? 2 hours?
At least an hour. It would have been at least an hour.
It would have been one of those situations where it ends up being as long as the thing that we're talking about.
Yeah. The movie's insane. It's crazy.
So what do you think it's about?
Gosh.
No one knows. No one knows. We actually watched it we watched it 3 times. And the first time we were like, what? And the second time we started to get an idea.
We were like, okay, we got this.
And on the third viewing we were right back to, wait, what?
We have no idea. Yeah, we tried watching it again before this, and I think I'm even more confused now.
I think the biggest problem I think is honestly the translation of the subtitles into English, because so many things just sound outlandish beyond, obviously whenever there's a transliteration something is lost, but there's so many lines in this movie that make 0 sense in context.
Yeah, they all just kind of feel like non sequiturs.
Every time the word bro came up, I was like, what is this saying?
Yeah.
I think it was, the bro, and I'm kind of piggybacking off of your Yakuza week. I wonder if bro, because they were in a gang, is kind of just a leftover term of, hello fellow gang member or associate or something.
Hello fellow gang member.
That's how they know you're legit. If you approach them like that,
you have to put your hand up. Hello.
I too love the criminal underground, and definitely not a cop. No. It feels like, but that would imply that Kiyoshi was part of the Scar people, or not just working with them.
That's what I thought, but then it was like he was making fun of them.
Yeah.
True. He does make fun of them in the car ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it almost felt like he was trying to stop Mr. Hacker, the wheelchair-bound antagonist.
You will refer to him as Hacker. He is Hacker. He is Hacker numero uno.
That scene, the first 2 times we watched it, we were kind of just watching. The third time, I think we were just laughing at it because of how absurd that entire scene is.
That also brings up another point: was he even speaking Japanese there? How could anyone understand what he was saying? They had to subtitle the entire thing in Japanese.
Yeah, they were just grunts.
And then the entire this part.
Yeah.
He's talking through that weird face mask that he's wearing.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone can understand what he's saying.
No.
But the whole movie is like that. There's points where people are talking, And then there's points where people aren't talking, but they're still saying something.
Oh, a lot of this movie suffers from, I think, budgetary limitations, and the audio does not sync up sometimes. It can't be heard sometimes. It's not mixed well a lot of the times, which is probably why most of it is subtitled even in Japanese.
I agree. I think that was like it felt like a stylistic choice to have the language right to that point where it's just a bunch of grunts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have a comment.
It's still a strange.
Sorry, we have a comment saying that the mic on your guys' end is a little staticky, which I think is probably just the internet connection. But we'll work on that. Let me check thing here. Oh, you guys are coming through fine to us though, so hopefully it's recording fine. Sorry. Right, so for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, go watch the Cinema Nippon video about Death Powder. We'll try to recap as much as we can, but this is you're gonna need a lot of context, and it's not gonna make any damn sense. So I feel like we don't have a lot of a structure to this talk, kind of just having a conversation, because the four of us have discussed and worked on this so damn much. But I think it'd be cool just to go in sequential order, maybe. There's just...
You mean like from the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, why not? Like, anyone just shout out, like, portions that you want to talk about or don't make any sense or noteworthy.
I want to talk about what the moo are supposed to be.
Oh, that's at the... Well, okay, I guess that's throughout the whole thing. But
it's like, it starts in the beginning and then it's there in the end, and like in the middle they just kind of forget about it?
I don't know.
Yeah. They mention it at the beginning and the end, but... Yeah, you're right. The entire second act, they're just kind of not there.
Well, and it was weird too, because it was like they're 20 kilometers away, and then it's like they're still 20 kilometers away 40
really
minutes
close.
later.
Oh wait, they're here now. I guess.
They're here.
Well,
I think the second time they say they're 20 kilometers away was actually a flashback to Guernica saying it, and then cut to them showing up, which again...
Or it could have just been mistranslated.
That's
somebody just put copy paste on the line instead of actually writing it in.
That's the MO here. It might be mistranslated. We have no idea.
Yeah. The unfortunate part is that we can't be 100% sure on
right
what we're viewing.
Okay, so maybe after like we do some talking about the movie, at the end we should talk about what we interpret the moo to be.
Sure.
How about that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so the moo, they're talked about maybe 2 times, 3 times, and then they encompass the last 15 minutes or so of the movie entirely, and there's nothing else. At least we think that's the moo, because
movie being only
an hour.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, an hour.
It's bizarre how we just switch to weird art house body horror, strange effects and visuals that almost look like, it almost feels like someone's student film that they just spliced in at the end of the movie because the director thought, oh yeah, this will work. I don't know what the moo are, but yeah, sure, this can be them.
Okay,
it's horrific enough.
Okay, so the movie starts with city skyline and sperm, and then Moese running through the city.
Yeah. And
then Kiyoshi running through the city, right?
Yeah.
And then for some reason they meet up.
Well, actually, so I'm glad you brought that up, because when we were rewatching it for the 3rd time, I noticed there's a lot of beeps and boops when Norris Moisa is running through the city, and then those beeps and boops play again when they're driving to the warehouse, and Norris is saying, "Oh, the signal is really faint," which made me think that she was already tracking the replicant Guernica and like just somehow got roped into teaming up with Kiyoshi because like the Scar Gang said, okay, well they're both like, we can use both of them, I think. But again, I don't know.
No, I mean that makes sense with the auditory callback of using the beeps and boops.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what do they call unwanted sex these days?
Oh God, we'll get to that line in a second. Yeah, I thought that was an attempt at like saying, "Oh, that's the signal that Guernica is transmitting when she's dying or about to transform or whatever." Because Norris has this headset and this gun and this weird cybernetic hand thing, which we originally thought meant that she was a cyborg as well, but maybe just like she has really cool technology. I don't know. But that's in the very beginning.
Right.
And then she says, and then Kiyoshi's hitting on her, and she says, unwanted sex is called rape these days.
Is he hitting on her?
I think. I don't know. And it's very weird because...
I never get the sense that he's hitting on her.
Well, rape has also been called rape since forever. Like, that's not a new term. It didn't come about in the 80s.
Well, maybe it came about in Japan. Maybe they just created a word for it.
Japan didn't have the concept for thousands of years. Again, yeah, that has to be a translation error because it doesn't make any sense.
That's the feeling that I get, is that has to be some sort of just weird translation error, because I can't make sense of that otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Completely. I think we wanted to put that in the review originally, but it's just like, it's such a weird aside that doesn't contribute much to the overall analysis that we're like, just leave it out. We can't even explain it ourselves.
Like, go back and listen to what they're saying. It's kind of, the audio quality is kind of hard to understand.
Yeah.
Like, the Japanese sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Speaking Japanese.
Yeah, when it's not like...
Oh my god, that's just... It's just so comedic, and I don't think it's intended to be, but I could totally see that in a comedy movie of like some like B horror movie of some serial killer in a mask, and then he goes up and like starts dialoguing his next victim and like giving plot and character development, and all the audience hears is weird grunts because it's behind a mask. It's so weird. And that's you can tell it's a purposeful choice on this on the side of the director, because he made sure they were wearing those weird prosthetics and, didn't say, hey, make yourself audible or intelligible. Just say anything, I guess, and then we'll just put it in later.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like the whole audio throughout this entire movie took a back seat, except for the music, which was oddly really good.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the priority.
All right, so we have them, Kiyoshi and Moesa meet up for reasons, because the Scargain somehow, I guess, expects them to meet up. And then they start heading over to the art apartment.
Yeah, okay, let's break that down. So, is it Tamio? No, it's not Tamio. Who's watching over Guernica? I forget his name.
Harima.
Harima, thank you. Yeah. So Harima is an artist who was renting the space, I guess?
No, I think it was his space, but he owed money to weird face Hellraiser man.
I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I thought he was renting it. But I don't know for sure, because at the beginning they were saying that they needed to get him kicked out because they were going to be building something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think later on when he goes over there and he's like, Tamio, speak to me, man. What's up, brah? He says, come on, man, this money shouldn't mean anything to you. You know I'm good for it, right? So I think he actually did borrow money from Tamio for reasons. Another plot point that's not really explained.
I don't think that's it at all.
And then they take the house or apartment as collateral.
I think that he was renting it from them, and he was selling art out of it, but that wasn't working out. And so he was behind on his payments, and they said, screw it, we're going to rebuild this into, like, I don't know, probably a gambling den or something that's much more lucrative than his
art. Who knows what they're going to build it to? That's also
we don't know, but that's less
explained.
important. It's not really important what they're building it into. The point is that his art installations aren't making any money.
Well, it is important, though, because the story is missing a lot that makes the story make sense.
Sure.
So all of these little things that weren't explained sort of add up.
Well, and actually, now that we're talking about it, did they know the Guernica was there? Because they just
they did. No, they wanted. I think it's implied that they wanted Guernica as well.
Well, then what
and
was that
power.
about them just, hey...
Also, you guys jump in at any point.
Yeah, we talk a lot, sorry.
You're good.
Because they what's his face, the first Scar Gang member we see drives up and tells Kiyoshi and Moesa to go check in on the leader's building. It's his building, and there's a guy in there.
Well,
the current
it's his
tenant
building now.
Well, his current tenant is raising hell. I don't remember if they actually mentioned, hey, there's a replicant there. I think Moesa knew there was a replicant because she'd been tracking the replicant. I don't think the Scar Gang knew, but I also could be completely wrong in remembering this.
Well, they later on, it's brought up that the Scar Gang wants, since they can't get the money out of Harima, they want her instead, and they want the nondescript her experience as a human in physical form or something.
Yeah, something that they want somehow to profit from her experiences.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they want her memories or her human element or something.
Yes, that's it. So
basically, like, what makes her a human being.
So I think they do know that she's there.
Okay.
Like, I mean, is the implication that they're the Scar people because they have consumed death powder? And if that's the case, like, Guernica, is it from some other android? Like,
oh, you think maybe they're like addicted to it and they want to sell her love powder?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, again, possible. That's a working theory.
Jeez.
God, I don't. Oh, man.
Sorry.
So much of it is just out of order as well. Like, I swear there were conversations that were cut from the movie that explain a lot of things.
Yeah, it does feel that way. Maybe it was edited for time.
It's an hour long. How's it edited for time? I don't know. And
do you have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, with Guernica, you think she is? I mean that because I know basically we're told that she can live 4 years. We're also told that through the powder she can really give something else life.
Yes.
So do you get the sense that she has been reincarnated, or do you think this is just her first reincarnation, basically?
I think, and this ties into another visual oddity that's never explained, when we are first seeing Dr. Liu in his 80s rock number, I Made an Android, he presents Guernica, but then, like, the dude behind him is carrying what looks to be like a burned out robot body that looks like maybe a prototype, which is very confusing. I don't know what that is. It never shows up again, but it's prominently featured in the scene. So I was under the impression that was like a prototype of Guernica, and then the current Guernica is the actual first model. That's her first incarnation, and she's got a 4-year lifespan, like planned obsolescence, but then she will transform and transcend everything because Dr. Liu's crazy and apparently he can do this. So that's the best explanation I have, but that doesn't answer anything really. Like, we don't know what she is other than that she's planned to basically, I guess, bridge the gaps of organic and technological matter.
That's probably a good explanation right there.
That's the best I could do. Like, I don't know.
Don't forget, though, that she is played by 2 different people. Credence to the idea that she's been reincarnated. Yeah. She is. If you watch the credit sequence, there are 2 different actors credited as playing her. One in the flashbacks, and then one in the present.
Oh.
On the bed, which that could just be because, like, maybe the person who played her on the steel bed frame thing thinner or something to, like, make her look more emaciated.
Cut out. Can you repeat that? I think you cut out a little bit.
Yeah.
I was just saying maybe the one who played her not in the flashback, who played her on the when she's laying on the bed frame, maybe she was like a smaller actor and like she gave the impression of being more emaciated or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe, one was available and one wasn't at the time.
Yeah, or maybe the second actor was more comfortable with being
naked.
partially naked. Yeah, and the first actress wasn't. That's very possible. Yeah. That's true. I have again no idea. Go ahead.
Back to the reincarnation question. I don't get the sense that she was reincarnated more than once, because like when she was created, they threw a big party for her. It was Dr. Liu's magnum opus, right?
I don't know. Is it?
I think so. I mean, he's there rocking out. I get that's like.
I get the feeling he does that for every small achievement he makes.
And then they took pictures all together, like they were.
I made eggs this morning.
Like they went on an expedition or something and came back, and they took a picture together. Like, this is the product of all of our work. This is our achievement. And then, so I think this is the one robot. I don't think there's a reincarnation element to this, other than the being created as powder. I could be wrong.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that whole scene makes zero sense. We like Guernica talks.
I kind of wanted to go in order, but now we're just sort of jumping.
Well, but that's
around.
the same thing, and I do want to bring this up because the editing in this movie is bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre. In that scene, you have Guernica talking about herself, and then like how tall she is, what her bandwidth runs at, what her name is, and then I noticed on the third viewing that her height, as she says it in the movie, doesn't match with the English subtitles. Yeah, that's one thing. At one point, the number 8.5 just floats on screen for some reason.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes,
it's just all sorts of gibberish, weird
gibberish. Maybe 8.5 years went by, and that's why there were 2 models. Maybe it wasn't 4 years. Maybe she reincarnated.
I think it's actually. Huh? I think it's kind of interesting that you said that you think that there's only one android, because then we have to why the Scar people look the way they do. True. And if we think it's death powder, then we have to assume, if there's only one android, that it had to come from Guernica.
There was one point they did this weird montage-y scene where somebody's like pulling powder from like a dispenser. I assumed that like Guernica was dispensing powder throughout her life, like a candy machine, because of that. And so maybe like she got them all addicted to her candy juices.
Guernica, which is of course Spanish for Pez dispenser. You're right. There is a scene, I think in a flashback, where it might be Harima. Somebody is just scooping up powder and then like ingesting it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Harima.
It is Harima. Yeah. But I only took that to mean that as Guernica was getting on in her 4-year lifespan, that she just started putting off more and more death powder. And the early, like when she first started, I don't know, exuding death powder, it wasn't like the full potency. So when she died, because Kiyoshi got that dosage, which was like, I guess, pure, that's why he survived. He was he was disfigured for a little bit and then wasn't anymore, and like his weird super cyborg man thing. So I don't get the impression that there were multiple cyborgs, other than the fact that what's his face is just holding a weird prototype in that picture. I don't know. That's the impression I got.
I can kind of feel that.
Oh.
We can go back anyway too.
Yeah.
So they were in the car.
Yeah. Now that we explain the entire movie, they were in the car.
Well, but you have to, because the movie itself bounces back and forth. And
okay, well, we're in the car.
Okay.
We're in the car, and she's listening to her headset beep and boop at her, and then all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, it's dead." And Abysmii was saying, Guernica,
Guernica's signal.
Moesa thinks that Guernica is dead.
Yeah, I think she was
I
tracking
think the
her.
signal was dead.
The signal from Guernica.
And we were wondering if they had like a bug in the apartment, or if that was supposed to be a signal from Guernica.
Which I think it is.
I guess I kind of, I don't know what. I guess I thought that, what's his name? Harima going all, Alan Tutorial on the ceiling is what was jamming the signal, but I don't know.
Hey, tutorial heads. Tutorial. Today we're gonna learn how to make death powder. So what you want? You want to take a 2x4 and you just want to start whacking the ceiling. Oh, tutorial.
Oh,
see, but that's not like I could see Alan Resnick doing that.
But okay.
That's not even far off.
Okay, well, joking aside, why the hell is he destroying the apartment? Is it because the
I
Moo are coming?
don't know.
Or is it
Got the
because
feeling.
it's the Scar Gang that owns it now? I can't tell.
Well, originally, I thought he was fucking
Maybe
it up
trying to be
because... Sorry, go ahead.
Like he's just being spiteful is what I was gonna say.
That's what I was
like,
thinking. That's what I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
if you listen, that's when they bring up the Moo. That she's laying on the bed, and then the subtitle flashes, "Oh, the Moo are coming. They have 20 kilometers to go." And he goes, yes, that's not far. They're not far at all. And then he starts beating the crap out of the apartment.
But he was messing the apartment up before that scene even happened. In the beginning, we see 2x4s falling and things lighting on fire and stuff being destroyed.
I know, but it seems related to me. Like, why bring that up while he's doing it?
Well, originally I thought it was because that he wanted to just destroy the apartment to lower its value just to spite the Scar Gang. But then I realized, well, that doesn't matter because they're going to, like, reconstruct it anyway.
Yeah.
And he's probably helping them, honestly, with demolition duties. So then I thought he's preparing it for the Moo's arrival, but the Moo look, I guess, antagonistic, so why would he want to help them? Or maybe it was just fun to mess up a set? I don't know.
Moo.
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, so they drive to the warehouse and get in a fight with Harima. And before...
Getting in a fight with some blinds.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's be all quiet coming in. Also, fuck these blinds.
Blinds killed my family. So, yeah, they get in a fight with Harima, which ends pretty quickly because Guernica turns into pure death powder and just shoots all over Kyoshi. And then Moetsu
But he also loses his hand, which explains the weird
Yes.
hand scene in the beginning.
Well, okay, yeah. Does he lose his hand because Moesa missed and shot it, or did
No, I'm pretty
Harima
sure
cut it off?
Harima cut it off.
Okay.
Yeah, do you guys
He
remember
was
that
holding a
part?
knife.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I think he was holding a knife.
Mm-hmm.
He was, because he had him at knife point, and so he cuts off his hand
Yeah.
for reasons, I guess. I mean, he's already got. I don't know.
He's attacking him.
But
And to
it was when he was
disarm
using him
him?
as a body. Oh god.
Oh,
And then somehow Harima gets the upper hand on Moesa and handcuffs her to the bed, which I don't remember seeing. She just
No, that happens off camera.
sort of wakes up handcuffed to the bed frame.
Yeah. And
those
all
are
the
some
while,
legit handcuffs.
yeah. And I guess that was just, I guess that was put in so Kyoshi could have his transformation uninterrupted. No, and no one would be
Yeah.
questioning, oh, what's Moesa doing? She's just watching this happen, which, to be fair, I probably would have too. I wouldn't know what to do at that point.
Hanima have feelings for Guernica.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the whole point, was that they love each other.
Well,
He taught her the meaning of
kissy.
love.
Yeah.
yeah.
When you do the kissy kissy, that means you love.
Oh, okay.
It's
Learning so much.
If you hate someone, antagonize them, but also kissy kissy.
Yes, exactly.
Because it confuses them.
keep them constantly confused.
If you truly love a man, you will blow powder all over him.
You will explode into
Blow
powder.
your powder all over him.
That's what happened in Sailor Moon, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay, well, here's what's confusing. Dr. Lou says, hey, this is my android.
This is the only confusing thing right here.
Well, Dr. Lou says, here's Guernica. You need to teach her how to love. She only has 4 years, but she will turn into something that makes life. And then we have the very awkward kissy-kissy. And
We're jumping ahead again.
Well, but flash forward to her...
Oh, no, wait, I guess we're not, since we're
not really, because we're coming right back to it, because that's what this movie does. Flash forward to Guernica dying, and I guess 4 years has passed, and they're in this shitty, weird art installation cracked-in thing, and he's defending her. I don't know if that's because he had ulterior motives for her, or if he really did have feelings. We're not told. Unless it's implied.
I get the feeling that he actually did have feelings for her.
Same.
You can only have awkward kissy-kissy. If you have true feel.
Oh, okay. Then he definitely had true feelings.
It's the true feel.
With the awkward kissy-kissy?
Yes.
Okay.
The true.
Oh. If I ever have kids, I'm going to use this movie as all their sex education.
This is how you have sex.
This is what love is. Find an android.
I mean, by that point, it might not be far off.
No.
To be fair.
I want to love a real girl. No, you don't. You find you a good android woman.
Oh, Jesus. To be fair, it's never, like, explicitly stated or anything if they have true feelings for one another. I feel like it's just heavily implied because of the sequence of the flashbacks and the placement of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Them right before it comes back to him in the crack den. Don't touch my android woman. You know.
I'm pretty sure that somewhere in the movie, Guernica says, he truly taught me how to love, or something like that.
Oh, it's true.
So I'm pretty sure that the potency of her powder is dependent on the fact that Harima really taught her how to love.
The potency of one's powder is directly dependent on...
No, but I'm pretty sure that's the thing, is that's why she was able to reincarnate so strongly in Kyoshi, is because Harima taught her how to love.
But actually, that makes a lot of sense because of what Dr. Lou said.
Uh-huh.
Because he said, I don't remember exactly, but basically, like, got to teach her this, like, and that will make her, the more she knows this, the more human being she'll become.
Yeah.
I love and hate this movie so much because it's baffling and incredibly interesting, and you can never explain it, but the discussion of it is...
The amount of concentration I had to put into watching this movie.
Oh, my head hurts right now. Just trying to wrap my head around what we're talking about, because there's just so much you have to remember, but everything you remember has no explanation, so you have to come up with it on your own. Okay, so they break in, Kyoshi gets death powdered in the face, and
then his face goes all melty.
His face goes, and that's like the movie shines absolutely with the special effects.
Which is the image that is showing right now.
Yeah, if you're
his
watching
face
the live
goes all
stream,
melty, and he goes, "Oh, this powder is incredible!" And he starts shaking.
Bro, this powder is incredible, bro.
In possibly the best acting scene in the movie.
He starts to transform, which is just weird ass special effects, and they're great. I think at that point
then the flashbacks start.
And then the flashback starts to everything we've already explained. But basically, the Scar Gang go, "Oh, something's going down at the crack den. Quick, everyone mobilize." And they break in, and they all die. They all die.
Well, you're jumping ahead quite a lot, but yeah.
But like,
oh, but no, that's another thing that's not explained. Why did Moesa switch sides? Like, why is she all of a sudden on Harima's side? She had money riding on this.
Maybe she knew that they weren't gonna make it.
maybe
who weren't going to make it?
the Scar Gang.
People.
Yeah.
And so she joined sides because she switched sides because she knew they weren't going to make it.
Yeah, so they're not gonna, if they're
She was
dead, they
like,
can't
"I'm gonna
pay
get
her.
paid." Yeah.
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 I mean that's fair.
Yeah, but how does she know they're not going to make it? Okay, think about it. Kyoshi's incapacitated. Guernica's gone, and it's Harima and her. Like, and Harima, she fights him. She physically takes him out. She takes out his eye.
Yeah.
And she immobilizes him. So who's the threat?
But
This goes all the way back to the beginning, where he's picking on her. And this is actually kind of hilarious. So she thinks for Kyoshi.
She has feelings for Kyoshi, right?
She's going to protect Kyoshi.
okay.
At the same time, Guernica.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, her and Harima are on the same side.
I could see that.
Enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. I guess. Okay, maybe. Right. Okay. I chalked it up to just like another scene being lost to the cutting room floor or something of okay, well,
So possible.
yeah, maybe. And it's not so important to the story, I think, because ultimately all this leads up to the ending, which we'll get to. But yeah, so Guernica, Moesa switches sides, Scark people come in, get defeated, and we have that lovely image of what I assume are their heads burning in fire on the floor.
Oh yeah, what the hell was up with that? Why did they destroy their heads in such a Moo-like fashion?
Because it looks cool.
Yeah,
Because they were ugly.
I think that's what it comes down to, is just had
This
the
is-
capability of doing that, like the special effects department, and they were like, let's do it.
So this is
That's
just
the feeling I get.
what the director really wanted right there was that scene, pretty much.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
That's what
Let's
he's making
burn
the
some
movie
skulls.
And we do see those burning heads in the very beginning of the opening imagery, because I guess he really, really liked that image and played it twice.
Oh, actually, at the end, like in the portion that we're about to get to with discussing, I don't remember who it is. I think it's Moesa, but it might be Harima. One of them is asking, like, posing the question, "You knew this was going to happen from the beginning, didn't you?"
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I
So
don't
that's
know
why the
who's asking that.
flashbacks are all out of sequence, maybe?
Maybe.
Well, is that, but are you
This-
saying that the beginning is what will come?
Maybe.
Like, are you saying like what we see right at the beginning before the title sequence comes up, the Death Powder title sequence comes up,
Mhm.
we're seeing right before, or what happens right after?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With the burning heads?
Yes.
Yeah.
So those burning heads are, in the beginning, are the same burning heads
At
of
the
the
end.
Scarp people at the end.
Yeah.
I took that to
Knew what was gonna
mean...
happen from the beginning.
I took that weird question to be Kiyoshi talking to Guernica in his head. I took that as internal dialogue of... because he's being shown all these visions after merging with Guernica. And so he's saying, oh, you knew all this was happening because Guernica's like achieved some final form or something.
She's gone Super Saiyan.
She's gone Super Saiyan 4. And like that was basically just him going, oh, look how powerful the Death Powder is. You can tell the future. You know what's going to happen. Which doesn't make any sense for how the movie ends.
Gosh,
but...
this is where this is really interesting because I have a completely different interpretation.
Okay, let's hear yours. What do you think it means?
Well, you knew the Moo were coming at all along, didn't you? I took it just to mean that.
Oh, so they weren't even talking about the Scar Gang, just the Moo?
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean,
But then why is it accompanied with imagery of the Scar Gang dying?
because you can't tell it apart from the Moo. I mean, I had trouble like differentiating some of the really waxy, colorful scenes from each other.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Like it took me until the third watching even to see the monsters at the end of the movie.
Really?
Yeah. Before it was just like, I guess, writhing eyes and
You didn't
liquid.
you didn't infer from the lovely kissy kissy mouth with the tongue and a single eye to be a monster?
There's like other puppet monsters in there too.
Yeah,
I
there's
saw...
a lot of things, and they're all superimposed on top of each other at different opacities.
But oh yeah. Well, I guess maybe it's not the best interpretation, but
Well, it's valid because every interpretation of this movie is valid.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay. Is there anything else we want to tackle before we get to the ending?
Wait, what else happens?
Well,
I
that's
know one thing that we cut out of the script.
yeah.
Well, we were going to talk about Guernica will only live for 4 years.
Oh yes.
That's a really like
Random.
Japanese thing,
Sure. Yes.
Oh,
because
okay.
the number 4 is a number of death.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
So, kind of like an aside that we were
Yeah.
going to discuss. But, I mean, that's really all of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
Oh.
Okay.
the fact that she only lives 4 years. Like, there is some kind of sense to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Another part like that actually that we touched on earlier, but I didn't like bring it up. There was another aside that we cut out of the script. In the weird flashback with all the text and stuff flying all over the place, 8.5 randomly.
Yeah.
I took that as potentially being an homage or like a reference to the movie 8.5 by Federico Fellini, who is like a real director, and that's one of his best known movies, and it's all about it's been years since I've seen it, but if I remember correctly, it's about dreams, and it's very, very, very surreal.
Okay.
Like even
He's
more
just
surreal
shouting
than
them out.
this, or
Oh man.
It makes more sense than this, but the imagery is very surreal. Like,
Okay.
it follows like a sort of dream logic, basically, and it's never really clear whether or not 8.5 dream, or if some of it's a dream and some of it's the main character being awake. It's kind of all over the place.
okay.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, because otherwise it had no context. It was just 8.5. By the way,
Yeah.
and it's not even like an homage. It's just it's like someone stops the movie and goes 8.5 by this other director.
Yeah.
It comes in after all the other text and just flies on the screen, just without context.
Very, very word art style too.
Yeah,
it's like bouncing off like one of those tutorial videos where some like text is bouncing on the screen.
Yeah, and for the
Yeah.
the picture-in-picture shot where Moesa kicks Harima across the room into a wall.
That is cinematography at its finest.
Absolutely.
Right.
James Cameron doesn't have anything on Death Powder.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. What is there anything else we wanted to talk about that we couldn't fit into the script? I'm sure there's
a ton, actually.
I don't know. The random I know we talked about it, but the random censoring of people's faces when they're in the subway.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's just like they were filming in Tokyo and
Yeah.
With no
like,
permit.
They didn't get like they just didn't consent from those people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not sure exactly of the laws in Japan, but I do know that, like, with in America, when you're shooting like a reality TV show or something,
Yeah.
legally obliged to blur out somebody's face unless you explicitly get a release from them.
Yeah.
And I know of other movies that have been shot like without permits in Tokyo, like on the streets, where nobody's faces are blurred, but it could just be that, like, if you do that, you're potentially running the risk of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Just kind of are like, whatever.
It's more likely those specific people came up to them and yelled at them and said, "You take my face out of your video right now."
That's also very possible. It was very crowded, so maybe they thought they wouldn't get caught, but then someone came up and said, "Hey, I don't want to be in whatever the hell you're shooting." Not that they probably ever
Oh.
saw this movie, but who knows? That's all I've gotten before we get to the end. Do you guys have anything?
Oh,
I don't want to be in the movie.
they both don't want to be in the movie.
You're right.
We watched it again and realized there's two of them.
Yes, there are two of them. Okay, so the end that comes very abruptly after.
They have that weird sequence where Kiyoshi wakes up and he's perfectly fine. He's
Yeah.
still missing his hand if
Yeah.
you look
He's
closely.
pretty again.
He's pretty. His face
pretty.
has gone back to being pretty. So
It's kissable.
kissy kissy.
Totes kissable.
Which in my mind takes away from the body horror because it like, why did it happen? It's not a transformation because he transformed right back.
Like, it was more of a transition, I guess, or just his body reacting to it. This is where the movie breaks down further. We no one's talking to each other on screen. There's just subtitles implying conversation. From whom and to whom, I cannot tell, which makes it very confusing. And then suddenly, the Mu just show up, and we get 10 to 15 minutes of weird imagery.
Wait, no. The Mu show up, and then the construction guys
Oh,
show
sorry,
up.
you're right.
There's like a car or two of people that come up, and they say, "Well, we gotta start construction on this apartment building today."
Yeah.
And they go,
that's
"Oh,
true.
darn, we can't get into the building. What are we gonna do?" I know. Let's just break the lock. And on first viewing, I was sure that this was more gang-related.
Well, I think
violence
they
against
were hired
Harima.
by the Scar Gang. I think
Well,
that was.
they were hired as contractors.
Yeah,
though.
they're the contractors. They show up with plans. That was probably the survey crew going in to be like, okay, well, this is toast. We need to redo this electrical. This plumbing's bad. Blah 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 blah. And they call because it's locked, and they thought they would be let in. And then they call, I guess, they call inside the building, I think, because it's either Harima or Kyoshi who pick up and say, come in, you're all dead anyway. To which, if I heard that, I wouldn't go into the building.
Nobody's home, guys. I think we should just come back tomorrow.
Yeah, you want the landlord there to let you in, typically, with these things, or, like, they'll leave a key for you. So they go in regardless, and then you just hear screams and death, and then the Mu. And just the Mu for 10 minutes. And it's bizarre. It's weird, conflicting images. It's fluids going around. It's strange monster faces. Weird ambient music.
When I looked at it this time, I actually saw the contractors' faces like melting.
Yeah.
In the goo.
Being absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, before I couldn't even tell like a sense of scale of what we were watching. But
well, I still can't. Like, I don't know how big the Mu are.
Well, that's the whole thing. Are the Mu like beings, or are they like? Is it like another reality that's just taken the form and the volume of the apartment?
I think if they are interdimensional, or at least like cosmic beings who are interested in a death powder for some reason, because no one gets out of that place alive. Supposedly not even Kyoshi. So, and like at this point, I don't know if Guernica's death powder was absorbed at this point, and then the Mu also combined with that to make something horrific, which goes into the theory of, you know, technology is going to get out of hand, and, you know, humanity is going to be altered forever.
Oh, wait, one more try. Who is he talking to on the phone? Was that ever clear? Was it Harima or Kyoshi?
I thought it was Harima, but it could have been either.
Well, they seem to be perfectly fine.
But then the Mu show up.
But the Mu had already shown up. But somebody's capable of talking into the phone, and there's still a phone.
But we don't see the Mu prominently until after they go into the building and then get killed. The contractors, that is. So I don't know. I don't know. Stop asking me to explain this. I don't know.
I need somebody to explain this to me.
What are your guys' thoughts on this?
You reminded me, the first time that we watched this, we were under the assumption, we didn't think that the whole last sequence would like spatially make sense. unless they were in a different apartment. I think that's the conclusion that we came to, was that like Guernica and Kiyoshi and Harima were in a different place than the place where the contractors went, or something like that.
Okay.
That the
Maybe.
contractors did not go to the building in
With
which
the art installation.
yeah.
Yeah, that they
I'm
had
pretty
gone
sure-
somewhere else for some reason.
I'm pretty sure when they show Kiyoshi and Moesa in the beginning of the movie breaking in, it's the same apartment building.
Right, though.
I
I
think you're
think
right.
that was on our first watch.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
we were like, that's weird. Why is it here? I also thought that when we first watched it that the Mu, Kiyoshi, and Moesa,
Yes.
not. I thought Guernica saying the Mu are coming was her referring to Kiyoshi and Moesa.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Then they say it again later
Right. When they're already
when
there.
they're already there.
Yeah.
So then what the hell are those monster things?
Exactly, like what? Even, yeah.
Oh my god, this movie.
Unless it's Guernica.
Which
Well,
I
It
mean,
is
I think
possible
that's
that her death powder. This is why I wanted to talk about interpretation of the Mu, because it's in my mind I think it's possible that the powder somehow created them, or her transformation. I don't know. You guys talk about it. I don't know.
I took it to mean that the death powder is attracting not just the Scar people, but also these interdimensional beings or whatever. And like it's weird exposition wise, because then our protagonists kind of like they're doomed to fail from the beginning. So why does any of this transpire at all if it doesn't matter if Guernica transforms Kiyoshi, the Mu are going to show up anyway and just destroy everything? Because it feels very final, the end of the movie. Like the Mu show up and then that's it, and everyone died and the world's been changed forever. I think that was my interpretation, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
That when asks Guernica, you knew this was gonna happen all along. That's him asking her as they, as a unit, are turning into what we are calling the Mu.
Okay.
Oh, so you think they're physically changing into the Mu?
And yeah, and then in that form they consume and all the like remains of the Scar people and
and the contractors
and yeah and
Those poor contractors.
this and the surveyors.
Yeah.
The guy with the cat hat.
I know. Poor Cat Hat Man.
Cat Hat Man. Shouts out to Cat Hat Man.
Rip Cat Hat Man.
But I think after watching it twice, that's kind of thoughts went. But I mean, it's like we've said, like there's so many different ways you can interpret this, and frankly, there's just so little evidence.
Yeah.
You can take it any way you want it, and
Yeah.
it could still be accurate.
I want to point out how happy I am that we got to do this review, because like this movie will be lost to the ages, and no one will know about it because of how obscure it is if more people don't talk about it. And I'm very glad that we were able to do this, because if channels like yours didn't exist, I would never have heard of this movie. I would never, like, I could probably go look up obscure sci-fi films, and even this would not pop up because of how low on the list it is.
Yeah, that's why we did it. That's why we picked it.
Yeah, because so little was written about it that I couldn't find I think we said this in the script. I don't remember, but find was just like very brief descriptions of what the movie is and like the basic setup of the movie, but absolutely no analysis or anything like that. And so it was like what you're saying basically, like it's more than 30 years old at this point, and it seems like it's kind of further into obscurity,
Yeah.
and that's just a shame, honestly.
We are the cowboys holding the lasso, throwing it into the void of obscurity.
Oh, Jesus.
It belongs in a museum.
Well, I find the thing is, I'm really frustrated by my inability to understand the movie because okay, so some of the older books I've read, like the sci-fi stories we've been reading from the Pulp Fiction books and stuff like that, the way they view technology, the way they view advancement, for instance, nuclear technology is the most advanced, most powerful technology, and anything they described as being overpowered is nuclear.
Yeah.
I get the impression that, first of all, I'm not very versed in Japanese culture generally, but also being in the 80s and technology of the 80s, I'm sure maybe there isn't so much a disconnect between weird interdimensional beings and technology as we would view today.
The focus, like, nuclear energy was, of course, the thing back in the atomic age, and then when computers became more and more advanced and ubiquitous, that's kind of the current slant we're on right now, ever since the 80s, is, oh man, when computers and AI get out of control, think Terminator, that's going to be the future. The singularity is going to happen. And a lot of those old books we were reading are like 50s and 60s, where computers were in their infancy still. So the focus, and we talked about this in the review actually, 80s America was not too different from 80s Japan and vice versa at this point. So I think that's why the focus is less on nuclear and more on just like, where's technology going to go? How is it going to surpass or meld with organic life? And will it take on life of its own? What does that even look like? Which maybe that's the influence for the Mu. Who knows? Maybe it's just, I think it is very sci-fi in the fact that the movie that is very sci-fi in that it contemplates and speculates on what technology is capable of and what the future will look like should it get out of hand.
I agree, because if you look at some other really prominent, more so like anime sci-fi that was coming out in the 80s, like probably the biggest example that like ubiquitous would be like Akira,
right?
Which I don't remember what year the movie came out, but the manga would have already been coming out at this point. Examples like that, then it's similar in that regard, just minus the cosmic horror aspect of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like the melding of those two. What's up?
I was gonna say, you mentioned in the review Serial Experiments Lane, which I've been desperately trying to get my hands on because I want to watch it and I can't find it. This if I may have to like order a DVD copy or something. Does any of that play into any of this?
Well, Lane, I think Lane, you could definitely say it's the like 80s and 90s side of what you're talking about, like that post-atomic aspect where it's talking more about technology.
Absolutely.
And Lane came out in 98, which means it was probably being developed in like 1997 or so, and 98 when it was actually in production. So it deals very, very heavily with the internet, speculating on how the internet might affect the future. And let me tell you, it got a lot of things really right.
Yeah.
It is mind-blowing how accurate that series is 20 years later.
It's bizarre watching it now.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And thinking about it in terms of this was in...
Yeah, like just the
like,
infancy
the
of,
infancy.
you know.
But like all of the perceptions that it has, like makes... Oh my gosh. Yeah. You need to get your hands on it. It's ultimately what we're saying.
There's one episode in particular where without giving any spoilers or anything for what actually happens in the series, they go back and talk about the like conceptual one of the precursors to the internet, the conceptual system. I think it was called Xanadu,
Yeah.
where the idea was that they were going to launch the satellite that had all the information on it, and you could access it from anywhere in the world at any time, and
Yeah.
laid the conceptual groundwork for what the internet would become. And then it examines how far the internet has strayed from, and what the internet has created in the world, how far that strayed from like Xanadu or from ARPANET or things like that. And
Yeah.
it is insane how accurate it is.
That I'm currently still getting through most of Neuromancer, but oh god, the first couple chapters talks about the internet in extremely similar prophetic ways of
Yeah.
people, you're jacking in and you have programs and software that help you do certain things in this network that's existing parallel to our ordinary lives. And it's, when the entire time I'm reading going, yep, nope, that's a thing, it looks different now, but that's still a thing. And it's just bizarre how well people in the 80s guessed at what the internet would look like.
You could see the scope of the future in the 80s.
You can, and it's that's the great thing about Death Powder is it's a bit of a kaleidoscope, but it is a kind of a telescope into the future, which is more like, I guess, our present, because we're looking at it 30 years later. But I mean, if I had seen this back when it first came out, it would be just even more bizarre than it is now.
Yeah, but I wonder if we'd have a different, more understandable perspective for this movie, viewing the future as the future instead of what it turned out to be.
Maybe, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Ask you guys. I mean, do you think this is set in the 80s?
That's a very good question.
Well, they do show a lot of the same brands that they had.
It feels like a
the
slightly dystopian alternate reality. It doesn't. I mean, well, but Moesa does have like weird headset stuff.
It feels like
crazy.
the near future.
Yeah,
because she has a lot of technological devices that you can't just buy at a store now, or when they were around.
It's because the subway looks perfectly modern, but everything else is very kind of like almost timeless. The Scar people are driving is like an old style car. And Kyoshi looks like a greaser from the 50s. So it's kind of, I have no idea when it's supposed to be placed, but I guess the point is that it's in a near future where cybernetics is like very advanced, and this is the next stage, but it's close enough to where anyone watching it's going, okay, I recognize a lot of the images and settings here already, to kind of ground the story, if you can ground this movie at all.
There are certain things like Kiyoshi's like look and the way that he dresses and his hairstyle and everything. There are certain things like that are really grounded in their time period, because if you look at other, like, again, if you look at Akira and the way that the kids in the biker gangs are dressed in that, or if you look at the actual Japanese biker gangs of the 80s, the documentary that the band takes their name from, Godspeed You Black Emperor, is all about, actually that might have been the late 70s, that might have been like 76, but that was a thing, was this weird kind of like nostalgia for like the 50s greaser look that Japanese bikers took in the 70s and 80s. So he is totally grounded in his time in that regard, in looking that way. So it's sort of like a visual shorthand, I think, for the intended audience to say, like, without having to explain to you that he is kind of a rebel and a badass, it's like the visual tells you that right away.
Moesa is also dressed in all black. Would you say her dress is of the time period too?
Was she in all black? I thought she was in white. Did she have a white coat?
I'm pretty sure she was.
I don't remember.
She was in blue, so.
Oh, she was in blue. We're both wrong.
I thought she was in moo.
No.
You're fired.
But I also get the same sort of, I guess, rebel feeling from her. But
Oh,
I don't know if her
definitely.
dress is of the period.
Definitely, they're all like criminal underground. They're not. She's very cyberpunk to me. Like, absolutely, she reminds me
more the headset than anything else.
Well, the headset, the fact that she's wearing like kind of utilitarian clothing.
The dryer gun.
Yeah, the hair dryer gun. That was amazing. Yeah, I don't know. It is hard to say when this takes place, but I guess it's more just the subject matter is more important than the actual setting.
Is there any significance to the fact that Harima is an artist, other than just having a profession? Because that's another thing that's not really like grounded. It's just he's an artist.
Well, we only know he's an artist because of the subtitles. Because when I saw the art in the warehouse for the first time, I thought it was just owned by a gang, so there was tons of graffiti. So I don't even know if he is an artist.
He is. If the subtitles were accurate in that regard, I would probably guess that it's just being used as a catalyst for him. Him being an unsuccessful artist is a catalyst for not having the money to not pay them, to have them need to kick him out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know that it would have any purpose other than that.
Well, yeah, because in the 80s was before
Market
bubble
crash.
burst.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, the
everybody-
80s was the
so everybody
height.
would have been in. I mean, if we're gonna assume that they're in the 80s,
right.
then for him to not have a lot of money is actually kind of rare.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because it's such a like wealthy and opulent time.
So then, from a writing standpoint, they would have to have a reason for him not to have money.
Yeah, and that's a fair.
That kind of conflicts
Also-
with cyberpunk, though, because in cyberpunk, society is very stratified. Most of the wealth is at the top, and everyone else, even if they have money, live in very like it's kind of like a technologically advanced squalor. So I don't know. It doesn't really jibe with that necessarily.
I mean, that's just saying if we're talking about the reality of what the 80s were in Japan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like if we're like saying that yes, this takes place in the 80s in Japan, there's no like alternate universe or anything like that,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's something to consider.
Well, even if it was the near future, it's not like they would have predicted any sort of crash for themselves.
No.
So
I don't think it's saying that at all.
I was gonna say, I mean, I know you had said that you thought that the graffiti on the walls was basically
Yeah, just
But-
graffiti.
if it is Harima's work, I mean, there's a lot of like and moons and stars and like things like that. Like that could be part of why his art's not selling.
Mm.
Like the content of his work, like
Yeah.
nobody like because we haven't had space travel and we don't have our eyes on the stars. Like
Mm,
that
yeah.
could be
It's also all
a
inside.
statement there.
well, I mean, he's just showcasing his work. I mean, it makes sense to me.
It's but like I get having a gallery. I get having a one-time installation where you rent an apartment and paint all the walls. But we don't see any like paintings for sale. There's no sculptures around that I could recognize. You'd have to like charge people admission to come into the building.
Maybe he just paints buildings,
The
like
insides
murals
only?
on walls.
Like,
Maybe that's his thing.
oh, this house has art in it. I don't know.
Indoor graffiti.
Come see it so it doesn't lower the retail value of your neighborhood. I don't know. That's another big mystery. I would love to reach out to someone who's perfectly fluent in Japanese
To read
and
subtitle
English and be like, please look at these subtitles and please translate them as accurately as possible to see if it comes out with like a completely different story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Because
You seem
Yeah.
subpar.
Yeah.
I do feel that we're just missing loads and loads of context.
And the end when the subtitles show subtitled by such and such studio, and I'm like, good job.
You guys suck.
Never hiring you.
Oh man. Well, that's all I've got. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add to the analysis? Post-analysis analysis.
That's everything that discussed in the episode or that got cut out of the script.
Yeah.
I think heck, if we have even more theories later on, we could always talk about this movie.
Yeah.
We should
Is
revisit
Moesa
it.
purple guy?
Well, I really appreciated this. I think this will help me get some more sleep tonight. So thanks for you guys for talking to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Everyone, if I guess it's plug time, but basically, if you haven't already, go to Cinema Nippon's channel and watch our collaboration video about Death Powder. Thank you again to both of you for inviting me to do the score for that video, which is also on my music channel, Abysmii. You can view. Here's to doing more collaborations in the future.
Yes.
Thank you guys for doing it, and thank you also for doing the score. Seriously, that was I know that was a lot of work. I know you worked on that for a long time, so thank you. For
That
all of
episode sounds so awesome.
It was
when we watched it for the first time, to do the proof, I got goosebumps. I was like, holy shit, that was awesome.
Oh, thank you. It was to date is the best project I've worked on. Because there's so much went into it. It was so fun to make. So yeah, I'm really glad, and I hope people enjoy it when they listen to it as much as we have. What else? Oh, Animal Fact Files. This is another one of your channels, and it's awesome. And thank you very much for doing an episode on the anglerfish.
Oh yeah, that was a really interesting episode. Actually, I didn't know that anglerfish were there were different kinds, so
Me
I
neither.
learned a lot with that one.
Me neither. There's so many different species, and we're finding new ones, which is terrifying and awesome.
The ocean is a terrifying place.
It is. We left it for a reason. We've hauled out of that shit. Anglerfish.
Danglerfish, wranglerfish, stranglerfish.
They strangle their
Believe me.
The unwanted sex
They
fish.
strangle their prey with weird hands. Where their fins
Oh
should be.
gosh.
Don't even get me started on the danglerfish.
They're also bioluminescent in a terrifying way. Oh my god.
Oh Jesus.
What about the Stranger Things fish?
No. Boo. Boo to that. All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We will be doing more stuff like this in the future as we expand our content in 2018.
Awesome.
Yay!
Yay. Want to say something, Paprika?
Don't forget to use soap. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You broke Eli.